Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Planet review here on the Planet Film Network. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you're catching this live, if not on the replay, thanks for joining us. I am one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I'm your other host, TJ Cornwell, and welcome back. Like just exactly what Sean said. Welcome back.
Yeah, and today we are going to be breaking down, doing a little non-spoiler, giving our rating, and then a little spoiler talk on the latest MCU film, Eternals. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us, guys. So let's jump right into this. What were your what were your non-spoiler thoughts? Because I feel like there's a good chunk of this discussion that we're gonna have about the actual film, about how this comes together as a film,
Yeah.
which I think can stay pretty non-spoiler. So let's start off with that. What were some of your thoughts on the story, but also some of your thoughts on how it kind of came together in the filmmaking process?
Overall, I thought it was good. It was a
Mm-hmm.
very good movie. Um, I didn't connect to it as much. I didn't really know what to think, like walking in, because obviously everybody's seen these reviews that were like not great, or they were either like it's not great or it's like it was good. Like there was no
Yeah.
like it's awful or it's like really good. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so going in, I was kind of very mixed. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to think about this movie. And overall, I ended up enjoying it. There's a few things that we'll get into that I just wasn't really that much of a fan of. I thought it looked great. Um, thought all the acting was great. All the characters are great. The relationships were good. Some of them I maybe didn't buy into as much. There was one character that I I don't know, I just wasn't that big of a fan of.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Um there was one character that I thought was going to be in it way more than they actually were. Actually, two characters. Um
Yeah.
but overall, like I thought the direction was good. I thought everybody was good in it, and I think just the main thing it suffers from, in my opinion, is that after 26 movies, right?
Yeah.
26. Um, we've seen the whole kind of world-ending thing, and each individual movie I thought did a good job of making it. I don't know like how to say this. Like making their own kind of crisis in each movie, like
Seem
very
reasonable.
small compared to, yeah, like smaller compared
Mm-hmm.
to what the 26 movies was building to. You know what I mean? With
Yeah.
Thanos and obviously snapping and everything. And this
Yeah.
movie is kind of like, I feel like it kind of overshadows all that with the stakes. Um, and I thought, and also with the villains, I thought I could have, that was kind of a throwaway to me, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. All
that it didn't
aspects of the
really,
villains for me.
it didn't really work for me. Um, but overall, I enjoyed it. There's just some little kind of, and I'm sure once we'll get into it, I'll probably start thinking of things that
Mm-hmm.
you'll mention. I'll be like, oh yeah, that, and then this. But overall, I enjoyed it. I really liked it.
I will say, I don't think I enjoyed it as much as you did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it was fine. Um,
Fine, yeah,
but to me, I do think it was. To me, I do think it is a little lower on the totem pole of MCU movies, and that's not
right.
because. And I know there's a lot of people, talking this and stuff on Twitter and all this stuff. It's not because it was different. It's just because it just didn't hit with me. It did not resonate with me as much as I was hoping that it would, um, which is unfortunate. But I still think that from a filmmaking standpoint, there was a. I think it was good from a filmmaking standpoint, but it wasn't great. I was if we're just
Mm-hmm.
talking about like Chloe Zhao, I was a little disappointed with this as her like follow up to Nomadland.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I just feel like there was some choices made, and kind of like what you said, and what a lot of people's gripes with the actual film that have problems with it. Um, it was just a little all over the place for me.
Mhm.
And like you said, I think there was people that I and again, this is just my opinion. There's people that I think were not utilized the way that they could have been, and then other people that were utilized a little too much that I think we could have done less with that would actually make it a little more interesting. But I don't know. I just think that some of those opportunities were missed. Um, and for me, on a visual standpoint, I think all the cinematography in it is absolutely beautiful. Um, the acting is really, really top notch, obviously.
Mhm.
But for me too, I'm not just gonna fault this film, but I think Marvel has got to take a look at uh, all the properties they have and see if they're kind of overstretching themselves in the visual effects department. Because to me, normally on rewatches and stuff, you'll catch visual errors or stuff that's like, oh, that was a little. This was big screen movie theater first time watch. I was going, that looked like a uh very rough like model or effect going
Mhm.
on that I was a little, and it did take me out of the movie. Um, I think the deviants were definitely uh just kind of there. And like
Mhm.
not to get any spoilers or anything, like we'll talk about what actually ends up happening with all that and the villain and stuff. Uh, once we get into spoiler talk, but just their presence in the movie, I feel like their presence didn't have any weight to it except to say, like, oh, they're just out there. They're just an obstacle in our way. And it's like, and it just kind of that didn't engage me
Right.
that much. And I will say, for the very first time in an MCU movie, I did now granted I did work a full shift and then go right into watching this. So I was a little bit tired, but I did fully fall asleep for about 30 seconds
Oh,
in this movie.
wow.
And that is something that has never happened in a Marvel movie for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean that's partly on me, obviously. But I'm just saying that's never happened before in a Marvel movie. So I don't know. Um, yeah, I mean I'll go 5 out of 5 stars. No, I'll give I'm gonna say for me it's probably a 2.5 out of 5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's lower than I thought.
Oh really?
I'm
Well.
and again, like, talking through it,
Mm-hmm.
when we as we talk through it and as you talk and listen to you and your opinions, I might be talked down from this. I'm like talking about it now, I did put 4, but I'm more 3.5 maybe.
Oh really?
Um,
That high? Okay.
yeah, I might be on the brink though. I think it's like on the brink of 4.
Mm-hmm.
Like I put 4, but now I'm
Like
thinking more 3.5.
yeah.
But after we talk about it, I'll probably have an updated one. I don't think it'll be
Well,
2.5, but it might be lower than 4.
for now we can for now we can put it at a healthy 3.75.
All right, sounds good.
Um,
Um,
but yeah, I mean, do you want to get right into spoilers on this
oh
one, and
yeah,
then
let's
okay,
just get
all
into
right.
it.
Well, I okay. I will say actually before we head into spoilers, the last thing I'll say is, um, the end credits on this, like they have been knocking it out of the park with the end credits scenes so far.
Hmm.
In like between this and well, I guess I'll include Venom. Between this, Venom, and Shang-Chi, they've been really killing it with the end credits. I think these are probably my two favorite end credits. Um, like, because usually a movie, it'll have, and I talked to you about this when you came out of your showing. Like, I hate when they do a really impactful first one, and then the end credit is just uh, like the Grand Master falling out of a porta potty in Thor Ragnarok. Like,
Like
I
a
was like,
joke.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's fine, but it's just like I don't know. I just hate waiting all that time, and then it's just like, it worked. It was really funny when they did the Cap thing in Spider-Man: Homecoming, where he was like, "You've waited all this time for something so little." Like that was funny, but
Hmm.
like, but this is not that. So if you're watching this for our non-spoiler thoughts, stay until the end of the credits because the both end credit scenes, the mid and the full post credits, is really really good and introduces basically four big new characters for the first time in the MCU. Um,
Oh yeah, 4. Yeah,
yeah.
it would be 4. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, let's go ahead and get into spoiler talk. What's the first thing you want to bring up for spoilers?
I think one of the biggest issues for me
Hmm.
was, but well, first of all, probably my hands down favorite character was Kumail Nanjiani's character. I thought he was so funny with his valet guy, like everything
Yeah,
that he's done. He's making these movies and
Karun.
everything. Like, I thought that was so funny. Like when they're in the airplane and he's pointing to the poster, he's just like, "That's my great grandfather. That's my
Yeah.
grandfather. That's my dad, and that's me." Like I
Hmm.
thought that was really funny. But when he is just kind of absent from the whole kind of end fight and everything, I think that
Thank you.
really sucked.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, and I get like he's like his character is he's like both sides, so he's like I don't want to be a part of it, but I feel like it's just I felt like he is like one of the driving forces of this movie. Like he is just so
Hmm.
funny. Like every time he's on screen, he has great lines.
Yeah,
And I felt like he had great chemistry, especially obviously what's her name?
Gemma Chan.
No,
Oh,
not Gemma
Sprite.
Chan. Sprite, yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought they had like a good relationship too, and I it just kind of pained me to kind of see him like just nowhere to be seen, and then he kind of shows up at the end.
Yeah, because like, well, my thing is two things. I just feel like from a thematic standpoint, I feel like they failed what that character was preaching the whole movie, which is,
Right.
not to quote Fast and Furious, but his whole thing was like, you don't give up on family. And it's
Yeah.
like, so I was talking to my mom about this after we watched the movie, and I was like, well, his whole thing was that like he was like, you don't give up, you don't walk out on your family type of thing. So I was expecting when he walked out for, a traditional big like third act comeback, like boom, he's here, he's made this decision, he's gonna save the day. But to literally just be like, I can't choose. And then to leave the movie
Yeah.
for 35 minutes and then just come back right at the end. Like it was just such a weird choice.
Yeah.
And again, like just for his character, I feel like it kind of failed what his character was about, which was not leaving. And he left. And it's like, I mean, maybe that's something that we'll get repercussions for, or that he'll deal with, like, the mistakes that he's made or something in the next one.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that I'm glad you brought that up because that was a big one that I was like, you take one of the best elements of the movie, and then he's just like, I can't be a part of this, and then he literally isn't. Like,
Right.
it was just so out of left field for me.
Something I'm a little confused on, which I thought maybe after I've started listening to this one review and they kind of brought it up and they didn't really explain it away, but they also had like the same question. I'm a little confused on what is the difference of people knowing that some of them are Eternals and some of them not being Eternals. Like Cersei makes it. She does not want Dane to know that she's an Eternal. I feel
Yeah,
like at all. But then at some point, it's like Camille has no problem. Like they all know that. Like his what's it called?
his
His like
valet.
his valet knows he's an
Hmm.
eternal. Like he doesn't care. So like,
Yeah.
what is the difference between people like and again, that's kind of like a relationship thing. Like Dane and Cersei have been dating for how long? I don't know how long
Hmm.
they said, but they kind of have like a closer relationship and more intimate relationship than obviously Camille and his
Well, that
his
we know of.
valet. Right, right, that we know of. But and I just don't understand. Like, did Brian Tyre did his character's partner know that he's an Eternal?
No, because remember he kept trying to hide everybody's powers and
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
So
So
like
I think
what
it's
is
maybe
kind of
just, and I think the point that it's a question is kind of a point to make as well, that it was so ill defined kind of in the actual movie. It
right.
left us with a lot
Because I
more
felt like
questions.
and that's just those are two like I feel like that's with everybody. Like
Yeah.
that's not just them, those two. But that yeah, that was
Yeah.
just something that I was kind of like I don't really like understand
Hmm.
the relationship between regular people and the Eternals. Now I know obviously the Eternals from I mean later they find out it's kind of a lie, but that they're not supposed to interfere in, you know, everybody's kind of just the way of life that humans are going to do what they're going to do and you just stay out of it.
Yeah.
Um and I don't know. I guess I was kind of confused between and a good point was made in a review I was watching. It's like everybody knows that Thor is not of this world
Yeah.
and he's like a celebrity. So like
Hmm.
what's the difference? And real quick, as a reminder, isn't it in like the comics isn't the earth going to be judged and that's why they can't interfere?
Yeah, so it's like
This is like a different spin, right? If
yeah,
I
it's like
remember.
Arishem.
Yeah.
Well, it's basically I actually turned to my mom and I was like early in the movie, um as soon as Arishem says it's almost time, I turned to her
Right.
and I was like way back in like the Jack Kirby days of the comic books, I was like the earth was like an egg with like a baby celestial in it, and then it like it's like they try to get it to hatch. I was
I
like
remember
I
that.
was like I don't
Yeah.
think they're going to go there in this
I
movie, and
read
then they
that far.
literally did. And I
I
was
read that far
like I just
into the issues.
yeah, like that's one thing that I will give this movie is that um I literally turned to my mom and I said that, and I was like, "But they're not gonna do that. Like, they're not gonna be like the Earth's an egg." And then they
Yeah.
literally that's what the movie was about, and I was like, "Oh shit, okay." So on that point, I will give the movie credit for having kind of the gonads to go there, because I
Mhm.
thought it definitely it's obviously every Marvel movie always tries to be different, tries to take risks and stuff, and this movie's no exception. I just think some of them did not work for me,
Yeah.
for sure. Um, I will say some of the things that did work for me were well, it worked for me because I was correct in my thinking. Druig, I was like, yeah, they're hyping that guy up way too much to be all in black, like that he's gonna be a villain. I was like, he's probably gonna be like the heroic sacrifice or something.
Right.
He didn't do
I
that,
liked
but
him. I
he
ended
was
up
still
coming out of
ended
the
up
movie
being a
liking
good
him.
guy. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the Richard Madden sized elephant in the room about what ends up happening with Icarus and stuff and that kind of twist?
Yeah, so I actually did not see that coming, I'll be honest. When I saw that Ajax was dead, I was
Hmm.
surprised by that because I thought Salma Hayek, I was like, "Oh, she's gonna be, like, in the whole thing, like,
Yeah.
front and center," and she was not.
Yeah,
And I was like,
no.
"Oh, okay." I also didn't I thought Icarus was, like, the leader. I didn't realize that it was Ajax, and then she kind of puts it on Cersei, and I didn't even
Yeah.
know Gemma Chan was kind of the almost she ends up being kind of the leader, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, which I was actually surprised about. Yeah, I thought I didn't think he was gonna die. I mean, he kind of just commits suicide basically, but
Yeah.
um,
Well, I didn't even think about this until my mom pointed it out after we saw the movie. He was Icarus and he flew too close to the sun. I didn't even think about that.
oh yeah,
He
I didn't think about
flies
that
into the
either.
sun at the end. And I was like, "Oh
That's good.
shit,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's
That
clever."
makes sense.
Now, question, do you think well, obviously the way it's shot, it is left open. Like we don't see him crisp up or anything. We just see him fly
Right.
into the center
Yeah.
of the sun.
Right.
But you could always do something where it's like, oh, it actually made him more powerful. So we
Right.
know with Marvel the option for him to come back is there. Do you think he will? Do you think that he will come back?
Um, maybe, but I feel like it might be a little bit down the line. Like I don't think you'd see him in like the next movie or
Yeah,
something.
I feel like we're gonna see like Kingo and Cersei, and person in the post credit scene that we'll talk about, which we're in spoilers anyway. So I think we'll see like Eros, Cersei, and Kingo way
Mhm.
sooner. And then I think probably like Thena, Druig, Makari, all them, probably, and then also like Icarus. We probably won't see them again until Eternals 2. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like those guys probably just because Angelina Jolie is such a big character, the other two are kind of or such a big actress, and then the other two are kind of minor. I don't see them joining the Avengers, but I think like Eros, Kingo, and Cersei probably like Camille. I could definitely see Camille and
Oh
Gemma
yeah.
Chan being in many movies, and then
Yeah.
Harry Styles. They already said that he's on like a 5 movie contract.
Oh really?
Yeah, so like it's gonna be
Oh okay.
he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Um,
Interesting. I thought he looked good, by the
but
way.
yeah.
Just to preface
Well,
that, I
let's
thought
talk
he
about it.
looked
Yeah, let's
kind of
talk
good.
about it.
Just great in the costume, and
Yeah,
you know,
and he
and
had
the
no
the
accent.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't even realize. I didn't
yeah, he had
notice
an
that.
American accent, which I was talking to my friend about. I was like, I don't know why Marvel has such an obsession with like changing people's natural accents. Like
Yeah.
Spider-Man to me is the only one that I get. But like Doctor Strange, okay, I get that he is American in the comics, but like does it really
Who
matter?
cares?
Yeah, like does
Yeah.
it really matter? Same thing with like Eros, like well, he's Thanos' brother, he's got to have an American accent. They're biological full-blooded brothers, and one of them looks like Harry Styles and the other one looks like a 10-foot tall nutsack. Like I think you can
Yeah,
explain I think you
what does
can
that mean? Because
explain
he's Thanos' brother.
like because they
Just
would
because.
grow up in the same house and have the same accent. And I'm like, look at them. They're not
Yeah.
they're not identical twins. Like
Yeah.
oh my god.
And so Harry Styles he's known for being very kind, right? Like he's a very nice guy. Like he's not like a villain, right? He's
You
just like
mean
he's kind of like
like the character?
the character, right?
Yeah, he's kind of like a he I would say the worst thing that he would get is like douchebag.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But yeah, no, he's definitely like he's just kind of full of himself, as you could see by the
Right.
post-credit scene with him getting,
Yeah.
Pip being
And
in, which also shout out Pip being introduced with Patton Oswalt finally
Patton
being in the
Oswalt,
MCU.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so fucking cool. And it's so sad because people were like, just this week, there's news broke that reportedly Jim Carrey was cast as MODOK in the MCU, and
Right.
people were like, oh, but Patton Oswalt plays such a good MODOK, like we give him a role or whatever. Which Patton Oswalt technically already is in the MCU as the Koenig brothers on Agents of Shield,
Right.
um, but besides that, like I'm just so happy that they were like, "Psych, he's already got a role. Like he's already in the MCU."
Mhm.
But that was really cool. And then yeah, I think Harry Styles he looked great. The suit looked really good too. Like
I agree with
I
that, yeah.
just love how comic accurate they're going with everybody. Because like even the Eternals, like some of their colors are dialed down a little bit. Um, but other than
Yeah,
that, they
definitely
look
the
really good.
colors seemed a little bit more mute,
Yeah.
if that's just me. Like
Hmm.
I didn't think they were like overly bright or anything. Um, which I liked.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you like how they
I
were even in their civilian clothes? They were always wearing the same colors. Did you
Oh yeah,
notice
I
that in the
didn't notice
movie?
that.
I
No.
could not stop noticing it. Like anytime Camille was in, like he had his purple like bomber jacket. Then at the end he had a purple turtleneck on. Gemma Chan was always wearing a green coat. Like everyone was always on their color.
Mhm.
Even Dane, which well, I guess we could talk about him in a little bit. But even Dane, like he was basically wearing like the bomber jacket that Black Knight wore in like the '90s, like the whole movie, the
Mm,
tan jacket. But sorry, what
right.
were you saying?
I speak yeah, so speaking of Dane, like I thought Kit Harington was gonna be in this movie way more than he actually was.
Yeah.
I have no background information on his character. I just know his name and he's the Black Knight and that's about it.
Hmm.
Um, so basically, throughout the movies in it for like, I don't know, 8 minutes or so, maybe less. Dating Cersei, blah, 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 and all that stuff. And kind of just skipping ahead to like his post credit scene, the second one. So is like the Black Knight, is it like a kind of, I don't even know. It's not like he's just a guy in a suit. Like it's kind of a whole,
Yeah,
I don't
it's
even know how to
like so
explain
it's basically
it.
like if you wield the ebony blade, which is the blade at the end, like um you become the Black Knight, which is basically what that means. Well, technically, it's not like anyone becomes the Black Knight. Like he becomes
Right.
the Black Knight because that's who his superhero ends up being. Um, but basically, power wise, it's skilled martial artist, skilled swordsman, tactician, fighter, all that kind of stuff. Stays mortal, but as long as he has the sword, can be injured, cannot ever be killed, does not age
Wow.
when in Black Knight mode. So like
Now,
right now he's
interesting.
just a normal. He's it's kind of like Peter Quill. Like right now he's just a normal guy, but well, let's talk about the post credit scene. As Blade says, "Are you sure you want to do that? If he makes the choice to do that, he will go down that road. But the only drawback
Yeah.
is, well, it's two kind of competing things. So the main thing is, which I think is probably what it is the more you use it, the more you devolve into madness. Um,
Oh.
but some people take that as, and I mean, some people like in the actual fictional comic universe, like some people are like, oh, every time you draw blood, you draw closer to madness. But some people are like, no, it's not that. You just become more of your true self. So it's like people are kind of like maybe Dane is kind of
Uh-huh.
crazy. That like that's all comic stuff. But I'm sure they're gonna play with some. Those are the elements from the comics, basically. So some form mix smoothie of all that stuff is what they're gonna go with in here. Probably, if I had to guess, it would probably be the immortal thing, and then the can't be killed thing.
I think like the immortal kind of thing kind of works, and again, that kind of brings him and Cersei together more because again, she doesn't
Yeah.
age.
hmm
She's
Yeah, it's
the
like what
same.
Sprite says earlier in the movie. She's like, he's not gonna live forever, and it's like,
Right.
well,
Maybe.
yeah, maybe.
So would you anticipate seeing Dane in Blade then, do you think?
I funny, yeah, I actually would. Or
Yeah.
perhaps maybe a movie with a movie featuring both of them prior to when Blade comes out. But Blade is fast approaching. I mean, it's supposed to be one of the earliest 2023 movies.
Right.
So
Okay.
well, actually, now that everything got shifted back, it's probably going to be the fall 2023 movie. So it'd probably go Ant-Man Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, sorry, and then Blade, if I had to
Mm,
guess. Um, because everything else in 2023 is already booked because it's going to be the Marvels, then Guardians 3, then Ant-Man, and then there's
right.
an open spot at the end of the year.
Yeah. Because when Danielle, sorry, I'm gonna sneeze, I think. Okay, maybe not.
God
Danielle
bless.
was like, "Oh, is he supposed to be someone?" I was like, "Yeah, I think it's Black Knight." And I was like, "Well, then there's Moon Knight, and that sounds very similar." So like, I don't know
hmm
if it's Black Knight, um, but obviously now I know that it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought Kit Harington was great in the movie for what he was in there for.
hmm
And I'm excited to see his character in future projects. I want to talk to you about the um what are they called? The Deviants.
Yeah.
Um,
By the way,
what
did you
did
realize
you?
that was Bill Skarsgård?
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was Crow was Bill Skarsgård, which that was what I was telling you, or I asked you about that. It was rumored that that was going to be Dan Stevens' voice, but
Yeah,
it was Pennywise. It was Bill
yeah.
Skarsgård.
It's funny because when he first talked, I'll be honest, I was like, I don't know, and I still feel this way. I was like, I was expecting a more menacing voice.
Yeah.
And maybe that kind of makes sense because they're not, as you find out throughout the movie, they're not. They're both trying to do the same thing. They're just trying to survive. Like they're not trying to, you know, I mean, maybe they are trying to kill the Eternals, I guess, but their main goal is to survive.
Yeah.
You know, they're not trying to be
Survive
pawns
by
in this.
killing them. Yeah,
Right.
but
They're not
like,
trying to be
yeah.
pawns in the, celestial game anymore.
hmm
Um, but yeah, when he first talked, I was like, I don't know about that voice. Like, I maybe would have liked something a little bit more deeper and darker. Um, but I thought, and this kind of leads into my this. I don't know. I was not that big of a fan of Thena in general. She came off as the character came off, and maybe this is how she is. She came off very cold to me.
Yeah.
And the kind of end battle with, and I would have liked to see her and Gilgamesh's relationship further
Yeah.
into maybe future projects and not just have him die. That's just me.
hmm
And again, he was funny too. I liked everything.
Yeah.
All his lines were
Oh,
funny and
but if I can just say a quick aside here on the topic of
yeah.
Gilgamesh, um, I am not a fan, have never been a fan, and I am really not a fan, and really not upset. Like it's a movie, but
Yeah.
I really don't like when Marvel does it with DC or DC does it with Marvel
They
when they
reference each
acknowledge
other.
that the other one exists in a fictional sense within the universe. Like they
Yeah.
did it all the time on
They did it like
Flash.
twice. They did it two
E-
or
e-
three times.
Exactly. That's what really
Yeah.
and to me it's like they have never even hinted that DC exists in a fictional sense ever before in the MCU. And they're talking about Superman and the Batmobile and Batman and Alfred and like I'm like
Oh yeah.
it just felt like a lot and I was just like what is the I was like why? Like there's so many other
Yeah.
things that you could especially when he goes, "Oh, he's my valet." And then he goes, "Oh, like Alfred and Batman." And I'm like, "Well, that's not even like not only did you not have to go with that example, but that's not even the right example. Like that's the joke is that Alfred's not a valet. He's a butler.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. But it just like it was just so weird. And like when the kid and then when he was like, "Oh, should we call you Clark?" I was like, "What do you know?" I was like, "That I don't like that." Like I like it more when it's like superheroes like Tony should be the first superhero on Earth. Not
Mhm.
like, oh, well, I mean, we've always had DC Comics for, 100, like 80 years at this point. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. That just struck me as weird. And I don't like it when it's the other way around either. Like on The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow and stuff, they always joke like, I don't know, like somebody will be like, great power comes with, and he's like, okay, Spider-Man. Like, I don't like when they do that kind of stuff because it's just like, it just feels
Gotcha.
weird. Um, and I just didn't like that. And I would have been fine with one, but like you said, like the fact that it happens like two or three times in the movie, it
Mhm.
was just kind of like jarring. There was a lot of
Right.
stuff in this movie that just like really abruptly took me out of the MCU. Um, which I didn't really like. I didn't really like
Mhm.
that. And again, it's not because it's like a different type of movie in the MCU. I love when the MCU is different. The MCU's best quality is that it is different. It does different things all the time. The only thing with me is just I just don't like it when um it goes from being a different take within the MCU to being like this doesn't even feel like it's in the MCU at a certain point.
Mhm.
And another one, which let's talk about this next, is kind of like what you were talking about, kind of the scale of the events. Like he halfway came out of the Earth.
He did, yeah.
Like, is that just never going to be brought up again? Are people's memories going to be wiped?
Mhm.
Is that like the whole geological structure of the Earth would have changed forever? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I don't know. What were your thoughts on that? I just felt like I was like, okay, is now Icarus gonna like realize that he made a mistake and he's gonna help him try to like is he gonna like laser beam his hands and stuff to make him fall back under the
I
ocean?
was gonna
But
say,
they
I
just
mean, like,
left it there.
is it just kind of sticking there? And I think that is something that strikes me as something that will come back. Like, I
Yeah.
can't see them never talking about it again because again,
Hmm.
it's like on the news, like, everybody knows about it
Yeah.
at this point, right? There's news and everything. Um, but yeah, I don't and you see like there are already multiple celestials because they've done this like how many times already.
Yeah.
Um And was that supposed to be do we know, like, what was that Celestial's name that was supposed to be
Tiamat.
yeah, so
Tiamat.
do you have any background knowledge on him at all or no?
No, not really. I think he's just. I mean, I think he is one of the Celestials in the comics, but
Right,
that's
because in
really
the
it.
in the comics, aren't there, like, 8 or something? Like,
I
there's
think
not,
there's
like,
like there's
millions
like
of
a
them.
council of eight, and then there's like
Okay.
other ones that are out doing the work.
Okay.
But like
Gotcha.
Aramesh is the main one, and he's Aramesh the judge, which I
Right.
did like at the end that he finally like said, I'll be back for to judge this planet.
Yes, I did like because there was a moment where I thought it was just kinda weird where I was like, it was like it seemed like it could have ended, like, 3
Hmm.
times before he came back,
I
and
was like, when he fucking showed up,
yeah.
I was like, is he actually there? I was like, this is gonna change every like Thor is one thing.
Right.
That man could have snatched the earth up and crushed it in his hand. You know what I mean? Like that's kind
Yeah.
of different. And I did like that when they cut back to Earth, it wasn't just Dane and everybody else going like, "Oh my god, what was that?" People were like, "What just like people were like running around. They were like, "It was there and
Yeah.
then it just vanished." Like cuz I that would be like you were like I said, like Thor is one thing. He looks like a dude. He is a dude. He just lives forever and he has lightning powers. You know what I mean? Like this is
Mm,
like going to challenge everyone's concept of the fabric of the universe. You know what I mean? Like um but I will say one thing. As good as that scene with Arishem coming to Earth looked at the very end, gives me hope for whatever they're gonna do with Galactus, that he will not be a space
I
cloud.
thought the exact same thing. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, these celestial looks like you could just, and this probably in the comics too, like you could base Galactus's kind of um character
Size, like,
model,
portions, proportions or
yeah,
whatever off them.
off of the
Yeah.
celestials.
I think
Um,
that really gave me hope that I was like, "Okay, they could really
this
make
could
this
work.
man."
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's like, how do you portray in live action that somebody's kind of standing next to Earth?
right.
You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah,
like, that's just that sentence, that concept
yeah.
is very hard, but
And he
they
literally
did it
like
in this movie.
he's able to like just kind of pick up planets, isn't he? I mean, he's that big.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, he could literally pick up the Earth like a basketball and, crush it.
Right.
Or even if he just
um,
punched the Earth, like, everybody
yeah,
would die.
yeah. So I kind of want to go back real quick to Athena
Yeah.
and the whole kind of ending battle with what is his name again?
Crow.
The Row.
Crow
Crow.
with a
Okay.
K.
And I told you, I was like, isn't he small in the comics? I was like, isn't he really short? Um, and I don't know. I felt like they were kind of making him up to be like this big thing, and then he just like died very easily, and then that was it. It
Yeah.
was like, oh, they're all gone now. It's like, okay. Um, One thing I did like in kind of, and we're not there's one character we have not talked about really at all, and that is Makari. I thought
Oh,
she was
yeah, yeah.
great. I thought the
Mhm.
actress was great.
Yes.
I loved her kind of speed. Like I loved, and I felt honestly like I felt like when Icarus, I thought it was gonna be a whole like Icarus like is unbeatable. Like one of these, like one of, but like
She was
they can
beating
show
his
that
ass.
each one of them can like
Yeah.
beat him.
Yeah.
Like she's like going all fast, punching him and
Mhm.
everything. I thought that was sick. And my favorite, like one of my favorite parts was when Fastos was like kind of
Yeah.
building all this stuff to hold him down. And I thought that was so
Yeah.
cool.
One thing with that, okay, so I really loved that, and I really loved that
Yeah.
Fastos did that, and I liked his line where he was like, "Man, I've been wanting to clip your wings for a long time." Like, that
Yeah.
was really funny. But then they did like the stereotypical thing where it's like, "Oh my god, it's working. He's really holding him back." And then it's just like Icarus just goes, "All right, well, I'm really gonna try," and then just breaks right out of it. And it's like, how did he's like, and can't do it, and then they just something dramatic happens, and he goes, and then just flies away. And I'm like, okay, well, that was a little like I didn't know that he could just produce a sonic boom. Like maybe he was charging
Right.
up or something. I don't know. Oh, what did you think of Camille's little Hadouken? He got a
I thought
couple
that was
Hadoukens in
cool.
there, yeah.
I did like that.
Um, but yeah, yeah, Camille really he was great. Um,
I was like, I kept saying it to
yeah.
Daniel like 3 times. I was like, he really got jacked.
hmm Which is funny because like he really didn't have to, but fair
Maybe he wanted
enough.
to. I don't know.
Yeah, no, exactly. Um, what was I gonna say? So where do you think we're gonna see? Let's wrap up with where do you think we're gonna see some of these people next, or where do you want to see them next?
Um,
And do you want
I don't know.
Close
I
Out
think.
to get another crack at an MCU movie?
Oh yeah, I'd be totally down. I think the three of them that got taken.
hmm
Um, I think maybe we don't see them for like a few movies or so. Maybe then credit, and then you see.
Really?
I don't know you. Yeah, because I don't know because and then I think is it two or three of them that were with Harry Styles' character.
Three of
I
them.
think you see them.
Yeah.
I think you see them sooner or later. Maybe if they're still on the ship, they run into the Guardians or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't think. I think maybe it's like a few movies, maybe like a post credits until you see them because again, they got take. We don't know where they're going.
hmm
And I'm so interested to see how, like, thinking of everything that's going on, like thinking of what happened in Loki and and thinking of Ant-Man and even Doctor Strange and Spider and everything. Like, I'm like struggling to see like how we're gonna intertwine the webs of everything,
Yeah. Well,
And
it's funny
I
because there's
fully trust them at this
there's
point,
like
honestly.
three
But
big things happening in the MCU right now,
right,
which is the all of the magic and kind of not Doctor Strange magic, not even Wanda magic, but like the vampires and like the
Vampires,
Arthurian
yeah.
magic that like Black Knight has,
Yeah.
like all of that weird Moon Knight, all that weird kind of
Yeah,
like
Moon Knight.
magical like mysticism, but
Yeah.
not actual magic, because we've already introduced that with WandaVision and Doctor Strange and all that
Mhm.
stuff. Kind of that other magic stuff. Then there's everything, whatever's happening with Morbius and Venom and Spider-Man with
Oh,
that
I
section of the
yeah.
multiverse. And then there's the actual main MCU multiversal shit going on with Kang and Loki, and it's all gonna come together for Multiverse of Madness. And it's just like, I don't know, like, but I'm
Mhm.
excited that this movie gave us a lot to look forward to in the MCU that is not multiversal related, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that it was like, no, there's going to be a lot of stuff going down apart from the multiverse. You know what I mean? Like apart
Mhm.
from all that stuff. And I liked the idea that was like, I saw some people that were like, why didn't Doctor Strange, come help fight the Celestial or something when he saw that was that. It's like he's probably a little busy. Also, there's
Yeah.
a good chance he might not even be in this universe at that moment. You know what I mean? Like, but also it comes down to the fact that with every Marvel property, well, why doesn't this person just help? Why, like in Falcon and Winter Soldier, right? Where they were
Yeah.
like, why isn't Spider-Man in the end battle if it's
It's
in New
not
York?
a
And it's
movie
like, yeah, it's not his fucking
or
movie,
his
and he's
show
probably
or
at
whatever.
school.
Yeah.
Like, what do you fucking mean?
And it takes away from the characters. Like,
Yeah.
as as soon as Spider-Man you showed up, you'd be like, "Oh, Spider-Man's here."
Yeah, what's
And you'd be like,
Bucky
"Okay,
gonna
what
do if
about
Peter
Winter
shows up?
Soldier?" Yeah, like, what? I think that's kind of a dumb
It's the same thing with
like,
like
what
WandaVision. When people
it's
are like,
just, like,
oh, Doctor Strange.
right. I think it's just weird because, like, to me, like, the Celestials is, like, the biggest thing going
Hmm.
for the MCU as a whole. But then you have, like you said, like, Kang. Like, isn't Kang, like, maybe not like a Thanos level villain, but isn't he like up there? Like he's not usually like a one. You wouldn't think of him as a one movie villain.
Yeah, no, no, no. I think what it's going to be is that we're going to deal with all this multiversal stuff and Kang and stuff for the
Right.
next couple of years. But now I'm starting to think genuinely, I think the whole thing of the Earth being judged, I think that
Hmm.
might be the next like Thanos level thing. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Oh yeah.
because it's like that dealing with what is the next worst thing that could happen, right? What if the literal Earth is in jeopardy of just being destroyed? Granted, it was in jeopardy of being destroyed
It
here,
was this. Yeah, I was
but
to say it was this one.
I don't mean like oh, what are we gonna do to stop it? Like if a celestial is literally just out to actually destroy the Earth, what are the Avengers gonna do about that? Like that to me is like, how are they going to beat that? Like Thanos is one
Mhm.
thing. That's dealing with like, okay, there's these magical stones that can do anything we need to. If we get the stones, we can just reverse it, no big deal. This is like, what are you going to do against that? Like this is like a
Yeah.
physical in your face threat, and I like
Yeah.
that. It's like cuz it's kind of a smaller scale threat, but a bigger challenge for them, because you can't just get some six magic infinity stones to wipe the celestial out,
Mhm.
or whatever, you know what I mean. And I did like that in this, in kind of one of the scenes closer to the end, um that Salma Hayek said that like the snap delayed the emergence,
Mhm.
because the snap, what did she say? She was like, the snap delayed the emergence because there were so few people on the planet, but then like when Hulk snapped
You brought them all back.
and you
Yeah.
brought them all back, it was
Not
like you
kickstarted it.
fucking, yeah, yeah, you
Yeah.
kickstarted the battery basically.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was really cool that they kind of
Did
tie it in
you?
like that.
One thing I thought, and this was like not like a weird thing. So you know how they all have the bracelets,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, we need to do it to be, do the Unimind, and then he can take control of the Celestial and do whatever he's gonna do.
Mhm.
And when Cersei does it, it was funny because like both Icarus and Sprite kind of rise up, and I literally looked at Danielle. I go, "Wait a minute!" I was like, "When did they get their like little bracelet things?" I was like,
Yeah,
"They never had them."
that's what I
But
was thinking
Danielle
too.
like was like, "Oh, like I think they said like the celestial that was in the ground like made it happen, I
Oh,
guess, or something.
yeah, you're right. I think they realized that the bracelets didn't matter because that's what Fastos
Right.
was saying. He was like, I kept wondering how we kept surviving all the planets that we destroyed. And he was like, it's because every time an emergence happens, we're connected to the celestial. So it's like
Mhm.
whenever the emergence is happening, they're already all connected. So I think that
Oh,
was why.
okay,
I
that
think it
makes
was that
sense.
the
Yeah.
bracelet, like Fastos with the bracelets, was trying to do what already was going to happen regardless,
Mhm.
like that he just didn't know
Um,
about.
one thing I wanted more of too, and maybe they'll dive into it more. I assume they will. They can't just like leave it. Um, is kind of Thena's like memory type problem that she has.
Oh yeah, the Majwiri.
Um, yeah, which I hope they dive into more because I felt like the movie kind of gave you like the bare bones of it,
Yeah,
and that was kind of it. And I was never really like, I feel like it was always just like, boom, and then like she's fine. And then I
yeah,
got like the whole like, obviously she had the obviously the relationship we had with Gilgamesh like played into that, and you know, um, the deviant kind of using that to his advantage. But I hope they kind of get more into that, the whole mental side.
yeah. And I like too that it, like obviously representation was a huge thing in this movie, but I like too that they also represented, like she was representative of like people with dementia, people with memory loss stuff. Like it
Hmm.
wasn't just Makari with being deaf or having LGBTQ representation, and then obviously race representation, as well as Scottish and Irish representation, of course. But I just like that it was like every single and it didn't feel too heavy handed. That it was like there was so much different groups represented and stuff. And I know people are gonna have issues with that or whatever, but like
Yeah.
get out of here. Like I will say, like it sounded like somebody. I don't know if it was because of that for sure, but when Fastos and his husband like kissed, I think somebody in the theater I was in like groaned, and I was
Oh,
like,
fuck
okay. I was
off.
like,
Oh
all
my
right, like
god.
grow up, like, um. But yeah, other than that, I think
Their kid was funny too. He was funny.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did
Yeah,
all the
that
just
was funny.
real quick? Did all the jokes work for you? I feel like they all worked for me.
I feel like yes, I feel like this as well as Shang Chi, all the jokes worked for me. That it was every
Yeah.
joke landed. Same with Black Widow. I feel like they've like the comedy elements, like some of them, the movies I've had issues with, but the comedy elements of all three of the movies this year so far have really hit for me.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. All right, I'm gonna let's redo our ratings and then we'll head out. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna put it fresh. I'm gonna say it's a 3 out of 5. I'm gonna say 3 out of 5.
I I'm gonna go down because I feel like after talking with you and kind of talking through some things, I think it's a little lower than a 4, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna go 3.5 out of 5.
3.5. There you go.
Yeah.
3 out of 5 for me. 3.5 out of 5
Definitely
for
not
him.
definitely not top 10, but I think mid-tier MCU.
For
Not
sure.
Dark World, but not Infinity
Yeah.
War, or, you know.
Like I will say I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed Dark World, but I still think in terms of rewatches, this is probably going to be lower on the list.
Yeah, I
Um,
I do want to rewatch it at
yeah.
some point. I don't know if I'm gonna go back to the theater or just wait for it to be on Disney Plus or whatever.
Yeah, cuz it's like what's it called? Give it like what is it? 45 days, right? And then it should be on Disney Plus. So it's like I'm good
Right.
for now, you know what I mean? Like if it's still showing for a while, I might check it out again. Um but yeah. So yeah, that'll do it for our review, our thoughts, our spoiler talk of Marvel Studios Eternals. Go check it out. That's just our thoughts. Let us know your thoughts on it once you have a chance to go and check it out for yourself. Um, Yeah, and yeah, that'll do it for me at least. Main thing I want to let you guys know: make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter at the official PFN, and go check out us on Instagram and TikTok and vote in the poll right now. We have a poll up on those two platforms. Do you, in your opinion, do you think the movie was fresh or rotten? So let us know and follow us on those platforms, and that'll do it for me.
Yeah, and I was TJ Cornwell. I was your other host. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you thought of Eternals in the comments below. And catch us on Wednesday for our Harry
HP.
Potter rankings with Noel.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, I'm gonna do my darndest. I really am. It might be honestly tomorrow. I might just try to
Shotgun
really
him.
watch every single one of them.
Yeah.
I'm trying my darndest right now to get all my homework done, so I have
Have
time to
time.
do that
Yeah.
tomorrow. Um, but yeah, catch us Wednesday, and we'll probably do this again for whatever, probably Spider-Man. We're definitely gonna do this again.
Yeah.
And actually, we'll probably do. When does Hawkeye come out again? End of November, you said.
Yeah, the end of November.
Yeah, so our Planet Hero kind of breakdown shows of those or review shows, will probably return for when Hawkeye comes back. But
Yeah.
yeah, catch us Wednesday, and we will see you next time.
Peace.